All this waste is discarded from ships entering the port of Rotterdam. But only a third of the vessels unload their waste in port. So, what happens to the other two-thirds?
This is a young gannet. We find them on the beaches. It has entangled itself in some thread-like materials. In this case, it looks like a potato net. And so they wrap it around their bill and it doesn't let loose anymore, so they cannot feed properly. And they slowly die from starvation and end up at the beach.
Biologist Jan Andries van Franeker is concerned. Jan Andries monitors the impact our waste from land and sea has on both wildlife and the environment. So what's the scale of the waste problem? After making a sweep of only 40 square meters, this is the result. Based on regular waste collection, the overall statistics are not hard to calculate. The estimated amount of waste that ends up just in the North Sea is more than 20,000 tons each year. But there is good news, and it's coming from here. Rotterdam, one of the world's largest ports. This is the nerve center of the port of Rotterdam.
The port of Rotterdam is one of the major ports in Western Europe. On a yearly basis, we have 33,000 ocean-going vessels visiting our port, and in total we have about 1 million ship movements. Before an ocean-going vessel enters the port of Rotterdam, she has to send an electronic notification to the harbour master 24 hours in advance. And the notification includes the ETA, so that is the estimated time of arrival, the draft, the cargo, and so on.
Here, everything comes together. Every detail of every ship that enters here is on record. How long it will stay, what cargo it carries, and what's to be unloaded. And that includes the waste.
Almost everything is recyclable. So every port should have the possibilities, and Rotterdam has, to receive waste from ships. And Rotterdam really wants to be a port who accepts all those waste from the ships.
Efficiency is key here. As every minute counts, the waste has to be removed as normal port business is conducted. The port is alive, day and night. In the middle of the night, the Adrian Mask arrives. Loading and unloading starts the moment it moors and goes on for hours. At the same time, life on board takes its course. In the kitchen, the meal is prepared. A ship is a small town. It's a well-oiled machine, operating continually, producing waste continually. Not only at the dinner table. The supplies are wrapped and need to be unpacked. Machine room maintenance is a continuous job, generating a lot of oily rags and oil waste. At the Adrian Mask, all waste is meticulously separated. While being loaded and unloaded, the ship is approached on the other side by a small vessel, ready to take its waste and process it. At the same time, the inspector arrives to see if everything is properly being taken care of.
We have mobile inspection teams in our port, inspectors visiting the ships, and they also checking the waste log on board of vessels. And if they see something which is not correct, they inform Port State Control, and Port State Control has the possibility to detain the vessel.
This waste has just been collected from ships that are at sea for months at a time. Just imagine the effect of all this waste dumped into the oceans. Jan Andries van Franeker doesn't need to imagine it. He monitors the effects daily.
This is a fulmar, northern fulmar. It's a member of the albatross family, birds that live out at sea all the time. Unlike gulls, they do not come ashore to feed. They only feed out at sea. And so by looking at their stomach contents, we can check how things are out at sea, whether it's getting cleaner or dirtier, or whether we in the southern North Sea have a more dirty area than way up to the north. So it's a monitoring instrument for marine litter.
From all areas around the North Sea, dead fulmars are being sent to Jan Andries's lab. The birds are measured, their condition, sex and age are registered. It's not hard to find the cause of death.
You can already feel it has died slowly from starvation. So it has used all its fat and even muscle tissue before it died.
This strange lump is found in the stomach.
It looks like a big lump of paraffin, which is discharged by a lot of ships when cleaning the hulls.
Washing out the stomach, Jan Andries finds out what this one dead fulmar mistook for food in the open sea.
This one, I assume, died from the big lump of paraffin in the stomach. It was like a big cork blocking the stomach, the passage from the stomach to the gut. So it just died from hunger.
But there is more in this bird.
This looks like a piece of onion skin. So a lot of galley waste from ship. There's fragments from bottles or toys or hard pieces of plastic. There are a lot of industrial granules like these items. They are the raw product in which plastic is made. There's not much foam in this one. It's all hard, mostly hard types of plastic. And then, like for example, thread-like plastics, pieces of nylon wire here. These birds seem to be flying around quite happily, but almost every one of these fulmars that you see flying around carries plastic in its stomach, carries chemicals in its tissues. And so the level of impact we have is scary.
But there are new initiatives that give some hope to the health of the sea and its inhabitants. This ship, the OD6 from Stellendam, fishes for more than just fish. It also fishes for litter.
Dit is van 1,5 dag. We zijn hier zondagnacht mee begonnen en nou, het is nu van 1,5 dag. Meestal hebben we zo rond de 400 kilo gemiddeld per week. En dat 50 weken in een jaar. Dus dat is een flinke hoeveelheid. We doen in totaal denk ik zo'n 5 à 6 jaar mee. En ik schat zo ongeveer dat we 150 ton vuil hebben opgevist in de jaren. We zien wel op sommige plekken waar we veel vissen dat het daar absoluut minder gaat worden nu. Alleen in de drukke scheepvaartroutes, daar zie je toch wel dat het een beetje blijft. Maar ja, daar varen natuurlijk veel schepen, dus ja, er zal ook meer overboord gezet worden.
Dat was nog een oud pekhakje van vroeger. Dat we hier toen gewoon ook weggegooid, is afgebroken. Nu pakken wij het op en we gooien het netjes in de zak. Dus er is echt wel verschil met vroeger. Misschien was ik het wel die een beet had aan het joepschee. En nu doe ik dat niet meer. Zo is het gewoon. Niks meer en niks minder.
In less enlightened days, all this would end up in the sea. Now there is no excuse for throwing it overboard, given the facilities available. If it's retrieved, the birds don't suffer and the fishermen don't waste time recatching it in their nets.
On the one hand, you need to create a clean environment for your employees who work in the port and the people who live in the port. And at the same time, we should create a mind shift and not always translate sustainability into costs, but see if we can get revenue streams out of it.
What are the revenues generated by waste? The processing costs money, but the raw materials are not lost. They will become new products. Almost everything gets a new life. In the end, only 7% is good for nothing. The other waste that can't be recycled is disposed of here. It's heading for incineration. So even the most useless waste is eventually turned into energy.
In principle, waste is also money because it can be reused again. But it means discipline on board of a ship to really look at what kind of waste do you produce and how do you deliver that waste in a port and not in the sea.
This is one of the places where young sailors learn just that. In a 3-day course, students of the maritime academies, like this one at IJmuiden, focus on sustainability in shipping in lessons and workshops.
What we basically try to do is, first of all, give them information, but mostly give them the opportunity to exchange ideas and to process the information. Because it's the information that's important, but it's even more important is the way that they perceive the information. They need to take it away and become responsible.
People, er zijn 5 dingen.
We are convinced that awareness is not just knowledge, it's not just knowing, but it's about what you do with it. So you need to give participants time to discuss amongst themselves and to think about what it means for them in their daily lives and in their future on board of ships. We, as a shipping industry, realize that it's not just innovations and regulations that do the trick, but that we need to give people the tools, old people and new people, to take responsibility and to know what the problems are and to know what they can do to solve those problems. Because the marine litter problem is not a very difficult problem. Let's just keep it on board.
Here we find a guillemot, and this one clearly died from oil pollution. There's a large patch all over the side here, and also a bit in the wings that is fouled with oil, which means the plumage is not waterproof anymore, and so it dies from cold, and it uses too much energy to keep warm and to feed.
We're all familiar with images of oil victims. It's a heartbreaking sight. How many more reasons do we need to responsibly dispose of our waste oil and chemicals? Tankers have to clean their holds after unloading, often producing hazardous liquids. The disposal of this liquid waste is a task for a highly specialized ship like this one, the Hydrovac 10. She's equipped with several separated tanks and a double hull for safety. The captain of the Hydrovac already knows what kind of waste the next ship on his list has to unload. The moment it moors, the captain gets a message and he's on his way. All ships have bilge water and sludge to dispose of. Sometimes, the Hydrovac also takes in the cleaning water from the hold, often contaminated with chemicals. No risks are taken here. For every load, 2 samples are taken, one for the captain of the ship unloading and one for the captain of the Hydrovac. Forms are checked and signed for the captain of the Hydrovac to take with him. Every litre of load is accounted for. The loaded Hydrovac then heads for the recycling plant. There, the plant too takes samples. The samples are taken to the lab to be analyzed. At the same time, the paperwork is taken care of and the load is officially handed over. At the lab, every chemical is isolated. Again, no risks are taken. because the factory works with living bacteria to process the oily water waste. But first the oil has to be extracted. That is what happens here. Chemicals are added to thicken the oil and allow it to come to the surface, where it can easily be removed. The recently harvested dirty oil gets a second life in this factory, where it's used as a fuel for cleaning dirty soil. And this is where the last step takes place, the cleaning of the leftover dirty water. It's done by microscopic workers, bacteria. Once free of toxins, the water is clean enough for it to be transported to a standard water purifying plant, to end up in the open water.
You can gradually see that there's less birds with oil in their feathers on the beaches, which, considering the fact that there's higher intensity of shipping, is a good sign that in the long run, if you pay enough attention and create awareness, that it does help.